lot of work goes into designing good experiments, especially in the field of HRI. Can you break down some of the guidelines that researchers in this field follow to design compelling experiments?
Hmm. Yeah, it's you could take a whole course. There are courses that are fantastic on this. It kind of follows a scientific method. It does. So you just need to think first, what am I interested in measuring and what are my research questions? And what is sort of the minimum interaction with the human that would representatively, that would capture what I'm trying to measure. It's really easy for studies to get long and get out of hand in terms of design. You're first bringing them in, you have to introduce them to all the concepts that are relevant, make sure that they understand what they need to then go into that interaction. And so I think being cognizant of the impact of having a very long study and what that will do on their perception of the interaction is really important. And if you get greedy and you want to measure a lot of different things, there are definitely designs that will allow you to break that into pieces. You don't have to throw all your research questions on the same person. One of the big things you can do is decide whether, if you have multiple conditions you're comparing, whether the same person has to experience all those conditions or whether you can have different people experiencing different conditions. It changes your analysis, and there are cases for both. So those are the major ones. One thing that you do when you're designing a user study is you go through that IRB protocol. So you write up everything you're going to tell the person, every metric you're going to collect, every survey you're going to administer, and you write it all up. And it's really helpful because that way you are more consistent when you're running the study. So you end up running many, many hours of the same process. And it's a pretty unique experience, at least it was when I started running them. And so you have to be very patient and willing to go through the same routine over and over. But it's so fascinating because despite what should be a very similar process, people are incredibly diverse, and every user study you run is going to be very different, and seeing the differences in how the same instructions are perceived is really fascinating.
I know a lot of students make this mistake early on, but they get greedy, like you mentioned, in terms of the
Uh-huh.
number of research questions that they want to answer.
Yeah.
So I think what you've done really well, and it's a sign of an effective PhD student, is narrowing the question down and
Uh-huh.
designing the study very, very
Yeah.
carefully so you can repeat whatever you do over many user studies.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But how have you managed to go through this process? How have you realized that, okay, I need to be better about scoping my research questions? What are some strategies that you use?
Well, it's not unique to running user studies. This is the plight of researchers generally. I think there's a lot of interesting questions out there, and especially in the case of interactions with an end user, that time with them is so rich and there's so many things that we're curious about. And so it's difficult to feel like I'm only collecting these two surveys. I could collect so many more and think of all the analysis we could do. So I think it's not unique to HRI. Um, I had the good luck of coming into a lab that had a lot of senior researchers that were willing to let me sit in and help run studies. So I got a lot of mentorship early on, which was really great. Very helpful. But yeah, scoping, I don't know if there's really one answer for how to do that well. Maybe some people do it different ways. I like to write pretty early in the process. So when you're doing research, you have coming up with the idea, executing, and writing, and they don't have to necessarily be in that order. Though traditionally it is, because you write, then you publish, and you sort of share it with the world. I like to try to get my thoughts in order earlier. So as I'm coming up with the idea, I'm often writing the introduction of the paper, or I'm writing the methods of the paper, and I'm seeing, are all my decisions that I'm making in this user study, are they supported by literature? Is there a reason, or am I just sort of making a shortcut here with what I'm deciding to do? And writing early can be really helpful to identify those gaps and those holes. And then the other thing is I just talk to a lot of people. It can be really helpful to try to explain an idea kind of like an elevator pitch, though I hate elevator pitches. It can be helpful to have to share within, a brief amount of time, because you synthesize what the most interesting part of the study is, and maybe that helps you focus on just that.
So you feel talking to people helps explaining your thought process?
Research in isolation, not for me. I'm impressed. I see like single author publications, and different fields do it differently for sure. The best part of research for me is that it's not something that's just done at my desk by myself. Yes, there's that part, and it's very important, and it can be really rewarding. but it's the connection with other people, and you're coming with these different ideas, and you get surprised with, yeah, it's the best part for sure.